welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sportsline. Thanks for watching us on Verizon 32 everywhere in the Pittsburgh area. To all our Bethel Park fans, only on Comcast 7 in Bethel Park, we appreciate it. And on Pittsburgh Sportsline, we're hitting new highs almost every day, so thank you very much. We appreciate it. 3,052 is our new high for likes on Pittsburgh Sportsline. So thanks again, folks. We appreciate it. We got a great day in sports. We got a nice summer day here in Pittsburgh. If you're not in Pittsburgh, we're like at 90 degrees here and just a little bit of humidity, like 90%. So we're enjoying it. And we're going to talk some great sports right about now. And I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. We got Chip the Prophet Hayner, Smoking Jim Frazier, Zach Brenner, Little Z. And we start with what's on our mind. Little Z, what's on your mind? Sports now.
Well, I'll admit the talking machine. What's on my mind is football, Jim Frazier. And not the football that they're practicing down with no pads in the South Side. I'm talking about soccer. World Cup soccer, 2014, the World Cup. Team USA was a pretty much long shot in their bracket. They had Ghana. I know you're up on your Swahili. You had Ghana, which is a Ghana. You had Portugal, and you had Germany. And Germany and Portugal were rated in the top 10 in the world in soccer. Team USA is probably, I would put them in about the 20s, but they're happy to be at the World Cup. Well, they just yesterday squeaked out a victory against a small African nation named Ghana, 2-1 in the World Cup to claim their first victory in 3 points. So that's going to put them in a good chance of making it on to the next level in the World Cup. But what else is on my mind is Jimmy Graham, the tight end for the Saints of New Orleans. And why is that on my mind? Because this is what I just said, the tight end for the New Orleans Saints. Right now he's at arbitration trying to get about $4 or $5 more million, claiming that he deserves to be paid as a franchise tender of 1 year as a wide receiver. When he was drafted into the league as a tight end, he lines up as a tight end. He's a tight end. So, folks, that's what's on my mind. Jimmy Graham, you're not a wide receiver. No matter if you want to line up like that or not, you're still getting paid tight end money. So that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it. Smoking Jim Frazier, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Al Levine, the talking machine. And if you want the green,
Hey, I did find it.
you got to
was
see Levine.
Nice. What a snag.
You
must be an athlete.
I had to make up for it. I think I dropped the last one. I ain't see it coming.
You did, and that's on film. As Chuck Noll would say, that's on film.
Charlie Brown.
What's on my mind is Spurs in 5. I took a lot of heat before the series
No
began.
pun intended.
No pun intended. That was good.
No, you were
And especially from an outstanding sports mind of Tom Plungen, a good friend of mine who will be a national sports host one day. But he took me to task when I said the Spurs in 5, and my good friend here, Lil Z, you got pit on, you don't have the heat. I've always said that LeBron James had more talent than Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Bill Russell, Isaiah Thomas, and Bob Cousy. But everybody likes to win. But these guys hate to lose. And when Kobe won 3 championships in a row, when he lost, going for the 4th championship, Kobe cried. You know, he cared about, he wanted that game real bad. Bird and Magic Johnson hated each other. Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson were best friends, and they came to fist fights during the championship. LeBron James is a businessman. He wants to be an NBA owner one day. He even wanted to be last year the president of the union, players union. And winning and losing is not as important to LeBron James is the bottom line. And that's the difference between him and some of the all-time greats. And that's what's on my mind. Heavy
Thanks,
money.
Smokey.
Heavy money. Always
We're
on
going to
my mind.
revisit this, folks. We're going to unveil what heavy money is tonight.
Yay!
And I'll just tell you this much, we're not going to get an answer. We'll unveil it.
We'll get an answer, but it may not be to the person.
I heard it was a jar of quarters.
I don't know
And he
what
goes to Coinstar. John Ingram pays the 7%. I'm going to start working on him with his economics because he went to California University for general studies and he skipped economics. So we're going to work on economics.
That ain't the only thing I skipped.
Z-Time is going to feature some economics, folks. It's going to blow your
That ain't
mind.
the only thing I skipped now,
I'm
man.
glad we have a separate segment called Revisit What's on Your Mind, because it didn't start yet. This is a prelude to it. That's our new word.
And the Indians are off the reservation.
They ran quickly and no arrows are flying. We'll see the sandbox in a little bit. Chip Painter, what's on your mind?
Thank you, Alan. And, well, what's on my mind is we got a big 3-game series starting tonight over at PNC Park. Cincinnati Reds are in town for a 3-game set. Pitching, got a nice matchup tonight with Johnny Cueto pitching against the Pirates. And he's 2-0 against the Pirates this year. He's pitched 2 identical 3-hit complete games against us, and he's pretty much been unhittable this year, and I'm looking to see the infusion of Polanco. I'd like to see him change that trend tonight. That's one of the things that's on my mind. The other thing that's on my mind, of course, you know, the Steeler Nation suffered a great loss with the passing of the great Chuck Noll, who was laid to rest today. But, you know, I heard that my good friend Roger Goodell was in town. Mm-hmm. And, of course, he didn't let me know. But there's rumors circulating that Roger Goodell is getting himself ready to suspend a certain player from the AFC North. That does not play for the Steelers. And, you know, I went off a few weeks ago about a certain Baltimore Raven who seems to think that it's a pretty good idea to punch your fiance, wife, girlfriend, whatever, into unconsciousness in an elevator. So, you know, without any charges being, you know, levied against him, no punishment coming, Roger Goodell may consider a suspension of him, and they say the suspension could be either 4 to 6 games. I do believe that he does need to be suspended, and I think the higher end of that would be the only thing that I would consider acceptable. I think the NFL needs to make a very strong statement here about domestic violence and the fact that you know, men doing violence to women is unacceptable by anybody that represents the NFL shield. So then I hear a radio talk show host, they're bickering back and forth, and the one says, well, I don't see why it should be 4 games. He goes, I'd be perfectly satisfied with 2 games. What? You know, like he doesn't think that it's that big of a deal. Well, it didn't happen in the field of play. Well, great. You're going to bring your wife into the field of play and beat the snot out of her in front of 70,000 people? I mean, a statement needs to be made here, and it needs to be very, very forceful so that we don't have continued instances of this. They need to go 6 games. I actually would go a whole season, and then we'd really teach people a lesson. But that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Chip. Man, everybody covered everything here. What else is left now? You guys get the sports up front here. Let me think here. I'm at a loss. So first we'll put Smoking Jim's event. You got to, what camera here? Can you pull this up? I'll hold it right here and you can get me there. Try to get a close-up where it's at. A little difficult.
Wow, can we get a bigger poster?
Yeah, just go a little lower. We don't need to see the girl. The address is the key and where you can get these tickets.
Is this low enough?
We're getting there. Thanks, John. And Smoking Jim's going to co-host this event with our guest from last night, Lish, Danielle. And you can get these tickets for the event. It's going to be at the Pittsburgh Center for the Arts, 6300 Fifth Avenue, 15232. And it's Twisted Runway, Pittsburgh, on Eventbrite. And Smoking Jim, they're ready to outfit him in a nice, bright white suit. He's having a whiteout party on stage.
To you.
And he's also going to have a white top hat. I know it. He'll have a white lid. I'm
Tails?
talking to Lish.
Tails?
I'm thinking.
Tails and a cane?
I'm thinking, but the only thing holding him back on getting anything is called communication. So he's going to have to tell somebody what size he wears. This is like heavy money. So we'll let that go. Now the next thing, John, if you can catch this. This is
Working
Cribs
tonight.
for Kids, and this is another great fundraiser to help save kids' lives in our area, and it's been going on for a lot of years now. And Dana Slizik just trying to show some of the people that sponsor this too. There's great sponsors. Local business, 2 Men in a Truck, that's right here. Pitt, Ohio gives free delivery on all this stuff for every crib, just so you know. And this is Sunday, July 20th, and that's on the North Shore. And then we got our event coming up. If you can get the whole poster here, John. I know I'm making you work extra duty here. And this will be at Enigma on 7. We'll be there 5:30 to 8. I invited a guest that I'll tell you about, and we're going to have Smoking Jim. Can you read what lounge is this? No. Sorry about that. Okay, because he has stutter. He has like a speech impediment. But those are some of the things. Thank John for the signal. Appreciate that.
He's gonna blend nice.
And I want to revisit what these gentlemen were talking about, from heat to you name it. So we'll cover some of that, and even Chuck Noll. I do want to say that I did meet him a few years back when he was around, and what a nice first-class gentleman. A good friend of mine who likes a lot of stuff on Pittsburgh Sportsline, Pamela Hopkins. She was his executive secretary, and she actually went to Keystone Oaks, Smoking Jim. Wow. Yeah, and there was a nice photo online of Chuck Noll holding her son when he was a baby. So, I mean, that's the type of guy he was. He was all business with football, but he had a huge heart. And it's just, he actually revived the city. If you read a couple of the articles that come out, the timing couldn't have been better. He focused on everything with helping the city and the people and the players. Mm-hmm. And it just created look at the Steelers were losers for all those years. SOS was a favorite phrase that they would always say.
30
33
years.
Yeah.
They did nothing but they were the lovable losers.
Right, and then I heard Don Shula today on one of these shows talking about how Chuck Noll was working with him, of course, and he said the Steelers hired him, and he was obsessed with this Joe Green guy. And if he didn't get hired, Don Shula would have been fighting Chuck Noll about whether to take him as a number 1 pick. So, I mean, they wanted to take Terry Hanratty back then. I remember that, and it revived my memories. They got Joe Green in the first round, Terry Hanratty in the second round.
But you want to know something is that Chuck Noll was on Don Shula's coaching staff for the Baltimore Colts that lost to the New York Jets in Super Bowl III. Right. And 2 days after that loss was when he came to Pittsburgh and interviewed for the job here and accepted it.
Well, that was only because Joe Paterno turned it down. And another correction is it wasn't 30 years, it was 40 years. Steelers losing.
Well,
losers.
Yeah.
Well, 39, but who's counting?
Listen.
72, we went to the playoffs, man.
40 years.
72.
And then what happened after that?
You were born.
History.
Hey, history. Right before me. So I'll take it any way I can get it.
I remember those days. And
Long live Chuck.
to see how it changed. You wouldn't see people wearing Steeler hats and gloves and everything else.
No.
But it was funny after, the
70s. The 70s was really a unique time to be a sports
Steeler
fan
gear come out.
in Pittsburgh, because at the time, the Penguins were still kind of like in diapers. They weren't even really a known quantity.
It was fun to go to the games.
The 70s, the Steelers ruled the roost, and the Pirates, year in and year out, had a perennial contender, and they won the series in 71 and 79. But it was really, really a great time to be a sports fan for Pittsburgh, and and a lot of it's attributed to Chuck Noll, and actually
Three Rivers Stadium. Remember, that changed it all.
That changed it all. But
it was near the river.
To be to get to Jim's point.
Which one?
The San Antonio Spurs are NBA champions this year, and that just goes to show you a well-coached team can beat an individual star every day of the week. And the problem with the Heat this year in the playoffs is anybody see Dwayne Wade or Chris Bosh, except for that 2 seconds at the end of Game 2 when he sunk that shot. I didn't see Chris Bosh, but I mean, LeBron James can't win against a team. And San Antonio is very well coached. They played very, very well. And they avenged last year's loss. So now that puts LeBron's record in NBA Finals at 2 wins and 3 losses. So the talk about LeBron being the greatest thing that ever played basketball, I hope that talk ends.
Well,
he's very good.
He got a lot more.
One
and
thing-
he made
wait.
4 straight
One
finals.
thing I was going to interrupt you with is whether he's the greatest or not, he's only one player. If he wasn't on the team, would they have broke 60 points?
Would they have won? No, they would have broke 60 losses is what they would have been.
And
without him.
that's part of the difference. And it's sort of like the Buffalo Bills. When you get to the Super Bowl, they don't want to remember a loser.
Yeah.
But 4 times in 4 years,
What's up, Jim Kelly?
that shows you something there.
Yeah,
and you can't win as one player.
Loser.
And when you're playing street ball with one guy and no support, hey, I picked the Heat. I was looking for 3-peat.
All
I was
these
wrong.
excuses, you could do it in basketball. It's not one player. They got an all-star team there.
well,
Yeah, but they're old.
But here's
you
the
got
thing.
Wade's done.
They're not older than the Spurs.
They're worn out.
Yeah,
Duncan's
that's
my
true.
man.
Can
I'll
we all-
tell you.
Can we
That's
all
true.
agree? Can we all agree that the Spurs, they shot probably one of the highest percentages in a finals ever, and they did it from the 3-point line
No
too. They
defense.
buried the
They
Heat.
wanted it
Defense
more
or
than the
not,
Heat. That's
defense
the
or
thing.
not,
No
they
defense.
were choking down the Heat, and they were just kicking it back, and the snipers were just burying.
But the
these
question-
threes.
As I predicted, 5 games. I've seen all that.
To
Coming.
bet, the
I
question.
had a dream.
The question next is what's going to happen with the Heat now because LeBron is now a free agent.
Yeah.
He'll declare on the 1st of July. They're talking about bringing Carmelo Anthony into Miami to play with LeBron. Well, LeBron isn't even signed, and that wouldn't be a very good move because I think Carmelo Anthony is about one of the most selfish basketball players that I've seen.
He's
always-
going to Dallas.
He's
He'll
all
go to
about
Dallas. That'll
padding
solve that
his
for a year or
stats.
two.
He's not about making the people around him better. He's all about padding his stats.
I
and
think
making
they can
himself
win
look good.
one with Carmelo Anthony.
In Dallas.
No, if
Miami.
he comes to Miami,
I
they'll
told
win
you,
one,
Levine, they would-
and then they'll lose 2 more.
Well,
Yeah.
there's been rumors having it that LeBron may go back to Cleveland.
I called that also.
You know what? Zach started that rumor. He was calling all the sports shows, and he goes, I heard it. Meanwhile, he was talking to me about it.
Yeah.
So that's where he heard it. Now
what?
you got the scoop, folks.
Here's what
He was telling me.
I would not be too surprised to see LeBron James playing for the Brooklyn Nets. He's buddies with Jay-Z, and there could be some.
No way.
Because you know what they want a champion in New York. The Knicks aren't going to be it. Mark my words.
Well,
Hey.
They got
wait a
Phil
minute.
Jackson though.
Yeah, they got Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
So
They
they're
don't
on the
have
up
a
and
team
up.
or a
Hey,
coach.
He's
Okay,
gonna
Derek
build the
Fisher.
team.
They brought in Derek Fisher. He's
Who's
an
like
untested
Phil, a
coach
disciple.
about what he.
He's a disciple
but
of
who
Phil
they
Jackson.
have? Carmelo Anthony's gone. He's going to opt
Yeah,
out as a
good
free
point.
agent. They've got Stoudemire, Amari Stoudemire. He's an injured.
They got
injury
high
prone.
draft picks.
Yeah,
Start from the ground.
They'll get Kentucky. They'll have the Kentucky
Well,
team.
look
And
at
see what
look at the
happens.
Cleveland Cavaliers. They've had the first pick of the draft 3 of the last 4 years, and they still stink.
Well, they need
Does
their
that sound like
son.
Cleveland or
They
something?
they need their son to come back home to the state of Ohio.
Manziel don't play basketball. Oh, you
he
mean
doesn't play football
Baseball.
either.
LeBron is going back to
He's going to be
Cleveland.
riding the pine.
I'll tell you what. Why
The
more
fans will be
reasons?
calling for him. Wait till
More-
they lose a few. You know.
More reasons why LeBron is more likely to go back to Cleveland. Cleveland already has a true point guard in Kylie Irving, and somehow, some way, they get a good draft pick this year and land one of these marquee free agents. I don't see why LeBron James wouldn't go back to Cleveland.
Have you been to Cleveland?
We're
That's reason
Hey,
enough.
we're going to. That's a good segue, Levine. We're going to Cleveland.
We're still on revisitation. We'll talk
you don't
under
go to.
MMA.
You don't stick around long enough to.
Yeah. You left
meetings.
early. Hold it. Before we get too far into this, because somebody's avoiding what heavy money is. We're trying to get a lesson. Now, I know you had a dream. I know you won Super Bowl and a couple other things, but I count up some of those L's. You're a good man on the prediction there. What is heavy money? Is it $1, $2, or because you don't have a government name, so you can say what you want on the
Yeah,
show.
that's true. I'm on the run. Heavy money is, especially in this NBA. I had it 2 ways. I had
Parlay.
I had money on the Heat. The Spurs winning the championship. So if they even won in 7, I would have made some money.
Yeah, you told
But
me
I
that.
had heavy money on the Spurs in 5. Everybody thought I was crazy.
No, Chip was hugging
That's
you.
fun.
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah, I was on
Macaroni
that
Tony thought he would pocket the money easy, and but in all fairness, my prediction was, although you didn't have to put it this way, it's not like a bank shot and pull down there in Homestead, but I thought the Spurs would win game 1 and 2,
Okay.
lose game 3, win game 4 and 5, but when LeBron cramped up in game 1 and came back and won game 2, they could have easily been 2-0. The Heat, the Spurs would have still won, and I still won money. But I thought the 5-game prediction was going to go by the wayside.
Really?
But,
You had some doubt.
Yeah, because
So
I had to
heavy
win them
money
both.
was at risk.
Yeah, heavy money was at risk. But I'm happy
you-
to say,
It's not.
I don't have it in the bank, but my safety deposit box is looking fine.
Wow. And there you go, folks. I made a prediction. I was all in that you would not find out anything about heavy money.
Now the safety deposit box is about this.
No, it's
I
a
got a
desk
big one.
size.
Yeah,
Oh, you got
I
a
got
big
a big
one?
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, big one.
And
They
I
need
have
2
a-
keys
Is
to
it
get
full?
in.
Is it full of ones, or could you tell us what president is on those denominations?
Well, I'll tell you what, I've highly invested in 2 things over the years. I'm an investor. I've invested in.
Because we don't condone gambling.
Yeah.
You just invest every week.
I got a lot of gold coins, gold dollars. I like those. And I got a lot of $2 bills that people don't accept because they think
Do you
it's
have any
fake.
Krugerrands?
Huh?
Krugerrands?
What's that?
That's a gold coin.
Oh, I thought you said because I
South
like cougars.
African.
I like cougars. I thought
You
that's
said
what
the
you're
word
talking about.
cougar, and Jim Fraser started. So you said Ruger, and his palms started getting sweaty. That's a handgun.
Oh, really? No, I don't have none of that.
Didn't you ever see what Lethal Weapon when they had all the Krugerrands? And
No.
okay, you got to watch that sometime. Try to watch a movie. There you go. We still didn't find out, except he got $2 bills and stacks of them, and maybe gold coins. We don't know if they're government
And
coins.
one last thing, a little shout out. You know, the World Cup is being played right now, and you know this is actually the biggest sporting event in the entire world.
I
There
don't
will
believe
be
It's number one.
there will be 2.5 billion people that watch the World
Bigger
Cup,
than the Olympics.
various games. That's bigger than 10 or 12 Super Bowls. Okay, I mean that
Worldwide.
worldwide. I mean, everybody, soccer has more, staying power around the world than any other sport.
It's watched. It's watched by more people. I think number 2, Smoking
is
Jim.
over
You'll
and
like
under.
this. You know what
Over and
number
under
2 in sports that people watch and play? Bocce.
I never heard of it.
Cricket.
Never heard
Well,
Bocce.
the way
It's an
things go,
Italian game.
the way things go in the World Cup is there's groups of 4 that are set up, and they play. What they're doing is they do group play, and the group play determines who ends up going to the elimination round. So depending on how many points you get. They said one of the best played games so far was played today, was a 0-0 tie between
Mexico.
Brazil and Mexico. They said that was the best game played, and there was no goals scored.
And that was an upset. That was a huge
from
upset.
Mexico stood on his head. And
Well, and that's the kind of passion that these guys show for this game because they're representing their country to the world.
Well, I like Mexican, Brazilian women, but I'm still
She's
mad.
gone.
I'm still mad because little small West Africa, Ghana,
It's gone.
and then a black guy is going to nail a shot for the USA.
Well,
what's wrong with that?
know
that's,
this,
come
Jim.
on, man.
Ghana was responsible
Come
for
on.
eliminating the United States from
Twice.
the last 2 World Cups.
But does a brother from the U.S.
you
got
know
to?
what?
Does an African American?
I don't
gotta
see
put
color.
It, gotta
I
put
see,
it, gotta
I see
dig it
athletes
into
on
the
the field. I
Africans.
see athletes in
Oh,
colored
man.
uniforms.
You got
I
all the
can't- I
white
can't
guys
think of
playing
a
hockey.
hard-
Let one of the white guys
more
score.
funny than that.
See that?
Oh my
That's
goodness!
that ices my cake.
If you like any of this conversation, don't call 412-831-3304.
To give you my prediction on the outcome of the World Cup, I'm putting my money on Argentina to
Whoa.
win it all.
Really? I may have to watch it almost like I almost made the NASCAR
The
Hall
two
of Fame
favorites
this
for the
weekend.
tournament of Brazil and Argentina. And
Hey,
the
Smoking
Cup's
Jim,
going to
why don't
stay
we
in
go to
South
Piper's?
America.
Why don't we go to Piper's Pub? They have it on 24/7.
Oh yeah, that is right. We ain't been there in a while.
I know.
This is gonna be
I think
my-
it's my turn to treat.
Yeah, I know you've been holding off till you got heavy
Whoa,
money.
listen.
Now I know he actually got $2 bills, like 5 of them. No, but you need like 10. So maybe
And
we
you
can-
got to pay $33 a month for the safe deposit box. Think about this too.
No, it's just a 1 fee
No,
per
1
year.
year.
Hey,
yeah.
you know what? He could have
No,
BC do security for his money, huh?
He wouldn't trust him looking in. He might see him peeking in.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, then little Z got heavy money.
Little Z got added security.
That'd have to be a lot of money.
Well, that's it
some
for the
heavy
re-
money there, folks.
And again,
That's
we have
security.
no answer on what heavy money actually is. We're starting to piece it together. Luckily, I wrote down gold coins and $2 bills. I'm going to do some ciphering, folks, and see next year if
He's
I
gonna-
can come up.
he's
What
gonna
happened
check
on
the
West
gold
Liberty
standard.
Avenue last night?
Pardon me?
What happened on West Liberty Avenue last night?
I don't know. He's trying to segue into something.
Oh, you think so?
We don't have that segment. We went into revisitation. Oh, the control room. We're now 25 minutes into the show. It's not a record for revisitation, but we'll talk about Sips Sports Bar now.
Oh, Sips. There it is.
Well, we already know about Smoking Jim's partner on the runway, that twisted runway. As soon as he
Can't wait
calls
to get to
in,
the malls.
call in so you get your suit or tux. I'll call in for you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, I'll call her up. I'll call Lish.
Thank
She was there, and the Hall of Famer was with us, Karen Hall from CCAC, the head coach. She was telling us some stories. Watch the show. I just posted it up. She was talking about how she coached. She was the first lady to ever play in the Connie Hawkins Summer League, and then she was the first coach to coach a men's team.
Wow.
And I think the only one to ever do it. And she won.
I think you're the only white Caucasian male that I've ever seen wear a Connie Hawkins t-shirt on the job.
I met Connie Hawkins years ago.
Wow.
He was a
And he had
legend.
one of the most interesting fingers that he cut the skin in between his fingers. If you saw his hand, that way they had that theory that you could grip the ball better. And he used to hold it like a little ping pong ball.
Wow.
He'd be like this.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the strangest hands. They were big, too.
I wonder if he ever hooped against Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn was a good college.
He
hooper.
crushed him.
Tony Gwynn, R.I.P.
And he's a good tennis player. You know that.
Who?
Connie
I
Hawkins.
never knew that.
My goodness. What do I got to tell you here?
Yeah.
I'm glad we had that Rumble in the Hill. Well, she was on, and then we had the 2 MMA fighters that Dan Bogan blocked out with taking so much time. Dan Kakuta and his son Jameson was there. He had his belt. He had the Gladiators of the Cage middleweight belt, 171 to 185. It's a nice looking belt. John Rurik, he won his fight. He's the MMA fighter who told me he's not 18, he's 12. Meanwhile, he's older than that. He's going to go back in the ring because somebody's been challenging, or in the cage, somebody's been challenging him. So he'll be fighting sooner than he thought.
Not in Cleveland.
No.
Do we have a fight card yet for Cleveland?
They're working on that.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
it's coming. Here, where's that other? Don't you have one of those cards here? It's not there yet. Did you see this? We got flying little. Don't get a shot of that, John. You're okay. Yeah. It's too. Now check out the meatball hoagies. I had the best meatball hoagie last night. It wasn't 2 weeks ago, but it was last night. So that was good. They have drink specials, food specials.
Where was Pete?
He was with Repeat. You know how he was gone. So those things happen. Check out the parking there. Tell them Pittsburgh Sportsline sent you there. See you next Monday.
Nobody's safe.
We're going to be up there, and we got a nice show coming together there. A couple special things. Jessica Lee's going to make an appearance, Smoking Jim. Roy Razika's going to be there, and about 5 other people will all be there on
Why can't
Sips
Why
Sports
can't
Bar.
Jessica Lee come by herself?
These are questions that Zach has, and hopefully we'll get an answer next week. And that's it for Sips Sports Bar. We're going to start the segments that I like. Fiction and Fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac.
I tell you, thanks, Al Levine, the Talking Machine. I tell you what, my fiction and fact this week was inspired by my good friend Chip Hayner. And it is O.J. Simpson. You know, hey, listen, O.J. was perhaps one of the greatest football players of all time. Won the Heisman Trophy in 1968. First pick overall in the 1969 draft. And to this day, he's still the only running back to gain 2,000 yards in 14 games or less. And in 1994, though, most people, like Chip said, remember where they were when they seen the car chase. But the O.J. Simpson car trial did two things in this country. Number one, it proved that if you got enough money, you can get away with murder. And the second one it did is divided the country, because most black people believed that O.J. was innocent, and most white people believed that O.J. was guilty. And everybody had an opinion, whether it was a 10-year-old kid at the time or the President of the United States. And that trial was on 24/7.
8 months.
Eight months.
We watched it in
So
school on TV.
You watched it in school? Okay, I can see.
Black and white, they watched it, just so you know.
The Bronco was white.
So that's my fiction and fact from Smoking Jim's Almanac. Where were you when he was driving?
Let's go down the line. Where were you at, Al Levine, when O.J.
I was at
Simpson?
home.
You're at home watching it on TV?
Yeah.
I was at the Meadows Racing Track when, you know what, I started watching the low-speed chase, and pretty soon I wasn't paying attention to the ponies. I was watching the Bronco go riding around Los Angeles. But, yeah, I was down at the Meadows watching it on TV.
And June 12th is my sister, who works for the FBI in Washington, D.C. Her birthday's on June 12th, so I remember it well because she was trying to get me an alias, a new name.
Well, listen, always remember this. Always remember this. If the glove does not fit, you must acquit.
Innocent again.
Johnny
Good
Cochran.
job.
Johnny Cochran.
R.I.P.
The dream team.
Johnny Cochran. He's no longer with us.
R.I.P. It's that kind of show. It's a dedication show. R.I.P. to Casey Kasem, too.
No.
If we're going to give R.I.P.
And that was the first time we ever heard a name that we all shudder when we hear now, and that's Kardashian.
Ooh, that's right. That's right.
All right,
He
next, let's
doesn't
move
know what
on.
he started, too.
Speak for yourself. I'm still in love with Kim Kardashian. Ain't
Still.
that beautiful. Mm-hmm.
With all the women that are around you, don't listen to this, ladies. Please. I hope none of them watch this show.
They don't
You
like
didn't say
him?
this.
They don't like him?
No, they love you. They don't want to hear that's your favorite.
I didn't say it was my favorite. I said I'm still in love with her.
Well, being in love with her is beyond that. Being a sweetie. Ladies, don't call in. Please don't tell me on the side what's up with Smoking Jim. Please.
And I would love to see Jim Frazier survive in any continent in Africa.
Almost went to West Africa, though.
This will be another segment because you guys are deep in the sandbox.
Sugar
there.
Ray Norris, who's a good friend of mine, was an up-and-coming fighter. He fought for Ghana in the Olympics, won a bronze medal, moved here to Pittsburgh to fight professionally, and he was going to take me to West Africa, Ghana, and he's like a hero there, but things didn't kind of work out. I guess on your passport, you got to have your correct man.
Well, one question I do have. What's the language there? How would you speak it?
Pardon me?
What is the language?
It's a universal language all over with the brothers, man. That's all you got to know.
Hey,
you go anywhere with
the funny
that,
part about it is, both walks. And money talks.
Cut.
And I got it every bit as
Go
big
to
of a chance
commercial. Go to
in Ghana as Jim Frazier to
All
survive.
right. Enough sandbox, boys.
Hey, I just take Tarzan with me.
Yes.
I'll be all right.
King of the jungle. King of the jungle. We're good in any jungle.
And that's our sandbox segment of we don't know what we're doing, what we're saying. They're deep in the sand. And with that, we're going to go to Chip's trivia time. What do you got, Chip?
Well, thank you very much, Alan. Just another footnote, of all the people that have passed. I'll recognize a couple more of them that we haven't mentioned. If anybody ever remembered a made-for-TV movie, it was called Brian's Song. It was a story about Gail Sayers and Brian Piccolo. It was on this day that Brian Piccolo passed away from cancer.
No.
That's a first one. But I always like to
1970.
throw in some baseball trivia, and I always like to bend it a little bit towards pitching because that seems to be my forte. Interesting little tidbit of information here. Back on June the 16th, 1915, Zip Zapel, who was a pitcher for the Cubs, was called into the game against the Brooklyn Dodgers with 2 outs in the first inning. He won the game 4-3, pitching 19 innings in relief, the longest relief effort in the Major League history. Also, June 16th, 1978, another record was set by Ron Guidry of the New York Yankees. He struck out 18 batters to set the American League record for left-handers. Wow. And Ron Guidry's nickname was Louisiana Lightning. And
Really?
He was a fireballer, left-hander. I loved watching him pitch when I was a younger man. On June the 13th, 1973, 4 people came together and would stay together longer than any other unit in baseball has ever played together. Steve Garvey, Ron Cey, Davey Lopes, and Bill Russell, the starting infield for the Los Angeles Dodgers, played for the first time together on June the 13th, 1973, and they played together for 8.5 seasons.
Wow.
That has never been done before, with all the turnover in players. Pretty amazing statistic there. June 11th, Nolan Ryan pitched his 6th no-hitter, which was a record at that time, which he eventually eclipsed by pitching a 7th no-hitter. Lee Smith set a Major League record with his 16th consecutive appearance. He broke the record set by Doug Jones in 1988. He did that in 1995. So that's 16 consecutive games he made an appearance in the 9th inning, which is a Major League record. And also Johnny Vandermeer pitched the second of back-to-back no-hitters on this date back in 1938. But the person that I would like to touch on more than anything else is the passing of an athlete that's near and dear to my heart, born the same year I was, Tony Gwynn, the San Diego Padres. Probably one of the greatest hitters of the modern baseball era. He accomplished quite a number of things in his career. His career batting average was .338. He ended up with a total of 3,100 and
338 is good. Baseball, right?
3,141 base hits. A .338 career batting average is just phenomenal, and that's a higher batting average than I believe anybody that was born after 1900 that played Major League Baseball.
Really?
The most interesting part of this is the year that he had a chance to break Ted Williams' record for batting 400 in a season was 1994, when baseball went on strike and canceled the rest of the season. He was batting .394 at the time. Mm-hmm. One other thing Tony Gwynn had done his first year in the majors, he played in 54 games and his batting average was .289. The next 19 years consecutively, he batted over 300, never batting lower than .309. The only player in Major League Baseball history that has a longer streak of batting seasons consecutively over 300 was Ty Cobb. So
he wasn't a bad defensive player either, Tony.
He played right field, and he was a good right fielder, but he was a student of hitting, and in baseball history, he ranked number 7 in most hits playing for one team. The number 1 on that list was Stan Musial, Carl Yastrzemski for the Red Sox, Derek Jeter, who's number 3 on the list, and climbing, Cal Ripken Jr., George Brett, Robin Yount, then there's Tony Gwynn. So Tony Gwynn in his career, he won 8 batting titles. He won 7 Silver Slugger awards. He won 5 Golden Gloves, and he was the 1999 Roberto Clemente Award winner. And the sad thing about his passing is he passed from oral cancer, and he believes that the cause of his oral cancer was his penchant for dipping snuff. And it's a shame that at 54 years old, he lost his life over a habit that we shouldn't encourage children to follow after.
Habit he probably learned from somebody white.
Not really.
But that's my trivia for this week. Rest in peace, Tony Gwynn. I don't think we're ever going to see him.
You're so slow on the job. You're so slow on the job.
What happened? happened to this guy? Cut that. One little side note on one thing with Johnny Vandermeer. He was the only guy to ever pitch back-to-back no-hitters.
Yes, sir.
It hasn't happened before, and it hasn't happened since.
And I
With
can,
all the years of baseball, nobody's
What
done
year was that?
like 50 years.
1938.
70 years.
And he
yeah.
rarely struck out Tony.
Tony Gwynn in his
19
career.
in the 1 year he did.
Check this out. Tony
19,
Gwynn,
huh?
for his career, struck out less than 450 times
Wow.
in 20 years. Another interesting statistic, I can
many
thank
at-bats?
my friend John Niederer for bringing this one to my attention. He batted 107 times against Greg Maddux, who's never struck him out once. There's a real long list of Hall of Fame pitchers that never struck Tony Gwynn out.
Really?
Yes.
Well, with
there
only
is.
450 strikeouts, that's
The most strikeouts he had in any single season was 40, and that year he batted .313 and won the batting title. So
Gee.
a
And
lot
this
of
is
great stats.
That was like the Kirby Puckett era with Tony Gwynn.
Tony
He
Gwynn,
He was a Padre for his whole career.
Yes,
yeah, he was.
Mr. Padre.
Tony Gwynn's first year was in 1982. Last season he played was in 2001. And his batting averages his last 4 years, just to show you that he wasn't milking it, was his last year 324, 323, 338, 321, 1997 372. I mean, the guy was just a machine.
He could have still been playing when he retired.
I'm surprised
Or
your
his betting.
your fiction, in fact, wasn't that your hero came to town today.
Who?
The president.
Barack Obama was here.
You're always talking about it.
Yeah, he was in he was in East Liberty today at the bakery.
Celebrity.
Yeah,
Wow.
East
Well,
Lib.
you know what? If he had his right government name and his sister didn't get him this new name, Jizzle Zizzle Smoking,
I thought it was Ali Boomba.
it's Jizzle Jim,
Yeah, I didn't even know that.
not Juicy
He come in
Jim.
for the funeral, Chuck Norris funeral? Or?
I don't know. I wasn't privy to it. I'm not allowed to tell you
Oh.
if you don't know. They communicate with me, Dave.
Hey, Roger
Terry
Goodell
Bradshaw
came
was
in.
in town on Saturday for a show down at the Meadows. He didn't stick around for Chuck's funeral.
That's a shame.
That is a shame because
He didn't go to the Chiefs funeral either.
What a classless POS.
And that's it for the Chips Trivia time. We're going to go to Z time now. Let's see what time we got here. Wahoo. Z time. Go ahead. What do you got,
Well,
Sam?
folks, I'm gonna take it back to 2002. You always get to hear Chips Trivia, and you get to hear about Smoking Jim Frazier's fiction, mostly, and less facts. But Zach always give you the facts. But what we're gonna talk about, we're gonna go back to all the way back to 2002 to an 18-year-old version of the guy that you see sitting before you tonight. And I had character issues on the hockey team. I didn't feel like I should have to run a lot to play goaltender. I was one of the elite goaltenders in the community that we grew up in our whole entire lives. Still get calls to this day to lace it back up and play hockey for Jim Frazier. That's on ice or on the street. And back to 2002, like I said, I told the coach that if you wanted me to run that much, I'm either going to go play soccer. I was a good soccer goalie too, or I'm going to go play football for running that much, because I just felt like, I knew my body better than myself, and I was hurting myself running all these laps to the point where I couldn't even skate because I was running so much conditioning, So I took exception to that, rode the bench pretty much all season, was in the doghouse pretty much for the whole season. We come within one game of winning a state championship in Double-A in hockey, and that was going to be a big deal for Still Valley. And one of the most helpless feelings was watching my counterpart give up 4 goals and we score no goals. So even if I would have played, we still, didn't score any goals in that game. So that was one of my biggest regrets in my life, not having the right attitude and being a team player. And since that point forward, we've never had that problem again. And I've pretty much been on a tear in every endeavor that I've taken on, and I haven't lost at anything pretty much. But that's one of my biggest regrets in life, not being able to help that team in that game and play, at the top level. And like I said, that's what for Z time. Little nugget for you folks.
Well, there you go.
Nice job.
Thanks
found out-
thanks for laying on Bob Newhart's couch and letting us know that.
Well, you guys have been in the sandbox
Yeah.
discussing
Hey,
your personal
thanks,
stuff the whole
man.
time.
Good.
Hey, we need some bucko talk here because there's a
Sure we do.
resurgence, but They're not at 500 again. I think tonight they're going to do it.
What a
Our
surprise.
man
Little Z got a
Jim
bad
Kaiser. Not anymore. Jim Kaiser's been predicting some of these big things.
Let me tell you what's going on with the Pirates right now is that the Pirates are starting to solidify their starting lineup, especially in the batting order. Gregory Polanco has had an amazing first week. Did much better than I had anticipated him doing. Batted .378, got like 5 RBIs. He's had a six-game hitting streak. And the last Pirate to start his career with a 6-game hitting streak only happened to play right field, Roberto Clemente. So, I mean, the kid is doing very, very well. That all being said, Starling Marte has gotten hot with the bat again. Still strikes out more than I would like to see him strike out. And he still has got to learn how to pay attention when he's running bases. He's running us out of innings. Now, fortunately, against the Marlins this weekend, the offense put up enough runs so that when the bullpen wasn't holding the leads, they held on. And I think what we got going on with the bullpen, and I think we're going to see a transformation of the bullpen. I honestly think that Tony Watson ought to be the ninth inning closer. It looks like Jason Grilli and Mark Melancon just don't have it that they the stuff that they had last year. And I think what we're going to see moving forward is we're going to see relief pitchers by committee instead of having people assign certain innings, because you never know which one's going to. I mean, Grilli still has the ability to get people out, and so does Melancon. But can you count on him? And night after night, doesn't seem like that we're going to be.
So we don't have a closer right now. We have a lot of questions with our.
Well,
closer.
I mean, quote the closers are supposed to be Grilli and Melancon. They can use either one of them, but it seems like they're a bit hesitant to either decide on one or the other right now.
Just to interrupt you, my theory was when Grilli got hurt last year, when you're that age, it's hard to come back from tendon and other issues like that. And he did get the speed and power back now, but his control isn't as much as it was before. And I think he's just off, at his age, he has a great story. He's done great. But, it just happens. You just don't know how many pitches you have in that arm.
No, you don't. And, and here's one of the things that, you think, okay, Jameson Taillon had Tommy John surgery. He's out for the year. Wandy Rodriguez was a complete failure this year. We cut bait with him, eating his contract. Garrett Cole, shoulder fatigue. They're resting him up. He should be back on the mound again, I would expect, in the near future. Francisco Liriano, and I've felt this for a long time, he's on the DL, strained an oblique muscle, but I think, that he's been pitching injured all year because his command just hasn't been what it is last year. And he started out the year, he pulled his hamstring going into the first week of the season, and I don't personally think that he's been healthy all year. I think this stint on the DL is going to be of a big benefit to him. What I find very encouraging is the kids that we're bringing up from the minors. This kid Worley that pitched Sunday pitched a great game. Yeah, Jeff Locke's pitched as well as he pitched last year when he was an all-star in the first half of the season. And then you got Brandon Compton. We've got some young arms that we're bringing up that are getting the job done on the major league level. Right now, the Pirates' weak spot is not starting pitching. It's the relief corps.
Right.
So.
Part of it is, Chip, when you have people overachieve and they're trying something to break a streak. Mm-hmm. People overachieve. Liriano has never had a second year in a row that he's good. That's why he's comeback player. So that's what makes people suspect. When you study the stats, you don't have to study deeply, folks. You could just look at his baseball card and you'll see it.
What do they call that?
What's that?
The statistical analysis that most of these scouts and stuff.
Sabermetrics.
Yeah,
sabermetrics.
Right.
Okay, so when you look at that, then that gives you.
You're in a Saberland. But no, that's just part of it. That's the tip of the iceberg, where you don't have to be a rocket scientist. But that's why you need the other people, like he's saying, that are younger, that now they can step in. You don't want to take too many chances.
And I think with Cole, knowing that Cole will come back and knowing what he brings to the table, and knowing that Liriano can pitch the way he pitched last year, I personally believe that he has not been healthy all year.
I say bring him back after the All-Star break.
And I think that has everything to do with his control problems, because Liriano's problems, he'll pitch 3 or 4 really good innings, then he'll load the bases, walk the bases full, boom, somebody gets it.
How do you almost pitch a no-hitter and lose the game?
Exactly.
One hit he gives up to 6 walks. But part of it is I'd love to see them hold Cole till the All-Star game or so. Let him get healthy because they have a tired arm. You've pitched, Chip.
Yeah.
If you get a tired arm early in the year, you could have other problems if you're not rested and actually working out in shape. So who wants to have him come back for a month now
Exactly.
and then get hurt?
I think he should just go get Tommy John surgery personally.
No, you
Not
can't
right
do that
now.
for a shoulder. That's
No,
an
the
elbow.
shoulders,
That's an elbow issue.
It's hard to adjust those tendons in the shoulder. No, that rotator cuff, you
speak
got to
to your
massage
point-
that a
To
little.
speak to your point, Al, here's what the Pirates are doing. They are winning baseball games. They got these stars that are down, and they're not saying, well, we don't have any starting pitching, so we're going into the tank. No, they're fighting their way back from the hole they dug themselves in early.
How many
So
game hitting streak does that kid have?
Polanco, 6 games. He's played 6 games.
That's that old black magic.
Is he
That's what
from the
Pirates
same?
is
Is he from the
experiencing.
same place as Roberto?
Dominican. He's from the
Yeah.
Dominican.
Is that where
Nearby.
Roberto Clemente was
No,
from?
Puerto Rico.
That's Clemente was from
They're
Puerto
part
Rico
of-
or the Dominican?
No, the
Puerto
Dominican
Rico.
and Puerto Rico are on the same island.
They are.
They're
They're
just
next- they're
different
side by
halves of
side.
the same
Yeah, they're
island.
Well,
separate,
put
yeah.
it this way. Ben, I used to date a girl from the Dominican Republic.
What was her
Hold
name?
on, that's not true either because Haiti's on the backside. Isn't Haiti on the backside of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico is an island
No,
all
it's
of
a
itself?
separate island, I think.
Stick
yeah.
to your own.
Okay.
We're out of geography.
But
Help.
Puerto-
Call in 412.
Puerto Ricans and Dominicans don't like each other, even though they're very close. So that's.
What's her name?
They look very much alike.
I think she was on our show.
What's the difference?
Needless to say that the money that the Pirates put into refurbishing the baseball facilities down in the DR
I
Yeah.
saw it.
has produced. Because look, we've got Marte, we've got Gregory Polanco. I
Right.
mean, they planted the seeds. They're bearing fruit.
And that's why they changed the rules so the Pirates can't do that anymore.
Well, but,
luckily they got a nice foundation.
Because that's how you build. That's how you build. You build a strong foundation,
I'm with
and then
you.
you can put something up top. And so the 5-year plan took a little longer than they had anticipated, but
You're
I
not
think-
going to take me off of the Kool-Aid. I'm on the Kool-Aid.
Hey, listen.
We're
when
almost
you can,
at 500.
When you can hit a rock with a stick, you got talent. Imagine what you can do with a baseball bat and a baseball. Like that's the
about
thing.
a
That's
marble?
why soccer never loses appeal because anybody could roll something around and kick it. And same with baseball. You pick up a rock and hit it with a broomstick down there in those poor third world countries, and you got a chance to come up because they're signing kids 15, 16 years old to contracts.
Well, they've got all kinds of things going on down there. But yeah, I'll be down at the ballpark tomorrow night. And I'll be watching the Pirates bring home another victory tomorrow, and
There
they
you
wrap
go.
that up. Then the Pirates go back on the road again. They won't be back home again until I believe a week from Thursday. We got a 4-game stint against the Mets.
Yeah.
Well, I had tickets for last Thursday, but the threatened to rain, so I didn't go. But I do have tickets again for July 3rd, and I want to go. I wanted to go see Greg, but I seen there was cloud in the sky.
You want me to give him your best tomorrow?
Who, Greg Oden?
Hey, you got an autographed picture? I'll give it to him.
Looks like
He
LeBron
doesn't even
James'
watch
dad.
it on TV.
You
But
got,
July 3rd, I'll be there.
you got a headshot? Bring that up?
I'm determined to go to
One of
another
those promo
Pirate
pictures, you know?
Smoking. Well, the question is, what inning will you get there, and what inning will you
Okay,
leave?
but can I share a little something with you?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, the baseball game is 9 innings long. Okay, and you're supposed to be there from the first pitch.
Heavy money.
Heavy
Until
money,
the
he's got a
last
couple
pitch.
fives wrapped around some business cards.
Why is
There's
he
a bunch of
pulling?
invoices that he never turned in.
Can't remember what
There's
I
his
did.
W-9.
I
What'd
can't
you
remember.
do to get
Oh,
him to throw money around?
Okay, that's the tickets. I'm like, where's the tickets at?
Did you buy tickets? This is a first on
He didn't buy 'em.
BPTV.
He didn't buy 'em.
Whoa, he found that one.
That one says May
That's
22nd.
an old one. Yeah, that's an
from you
old one.
guys.
Okay.
May 22nd, that's the one I took you to.
That's right.
Oh my god.
That's right. I gotta. Okay, now I know where their tickets are now.
Okay.
They're at home
Yeah.
with all those photos of
They're in the
models.
safe deposit box.
No, they're on his shrine to
I
all the women.
actually gave 4 tickets
How-
away. 2 of them to Lieutenant Mike Vent.
No,
I know it
Okay.
stormed a
Here,
lot
hero.
last week, Chip.
So I got to get 4 more.
I know it stormed a lot.
Let
last
me know if you guys want to go.
Oh, thanks.
Hey, we could keep talking about Jim Frazier's Pirate game where he's going to leave you in the 4th inning and there's 9 innings. You
No,
got
no,
five
if
I'm
he
more
gonna
to
get
gets
go.
snow cone before I go.
But we had a golf tournament that was played at Pinehurst #2
Really?
over the weekend, and that was the U.S. Open. I know when Tiger Woods doesn't participate, you don't really pay attention to Vijay Singh. So,
Hey, let me say you, that was another major golf tournament that Tiger Woods did not win. Nor will he ever win another one.
And he stands on that.
Martin
he got
Keimer
14.
ran away with the U.S. Open.
Wire to wire.
and that's his second one. That's his second championship. He won a previous PGA Championship in 2010. So that's Keimer's second. He's one of the up and coming German stars
That's
of the
true.
tour. Another international thing. If you're starting to see a vibe, especially in the NBA, the Spurs, that was a mostly international team. In the golf right now, dominated by internationals.
What are Americans doing then? What's the theory there?
Well, like the soccer coach was arguing with Kobe Bryant. I find it laughable that our national soccer coach is having dialogue with Kobe Bryant about the babying of how American stars are babied by the owners in this country as opposed to in other countries where it's far more brutal.
Well, let me tell you something. Jurgen Klinsmann, who is the head coach of the U.S. soccer team.
Who?
Jurgen Klinsmann.
Oh,
He's
okay.
German.
Okay,
He's
Clint,
German,
Clint,
and,
okay.
and he has won the
You
World
guys
man.
fell in this trap.
Jim,
I
he
just
has,
stay
he has
out.
won the World Cup. He knows what it takes to win. That's one of the reasons why he left Landon Donovan off the team. Landon Donovan's a recognizable
mistake.
name.
That was a
Landon
mistake.
Donovan might not
That
be
was a
gone for
mistake.
long if Josie Aldoor's hamstring is bad. Because I
But-
tell you what, I'd have him on the bat phone, and I'd have him back on a private jet on
Hey,
his way back
Zach,
to
before
Brazil.
I got to butt in on this. We had some MMA stuff we wanted to talk about. I thought you wanted to bring that up about what a great night we had. And we had free reign with our camera. Mike Mass, thanks again. We saw every fight, filmed every fight,
Every
plus
fight.
interviews.
Jim
He wasn't
No.
there.
Jim wasn't there. Come on, you know the pedigree.
Oh, dude, I was like,
Pedigree. That's Levine and Brenner.
We were everywhere. He was not. He was at some graduation of his good-looking nephew down there who's
Bojangles.
going to Virginia Tech. But we had a great time. What'd you think, Zach?
Oh yeah, it was a great night. It was a great night of fights. You know, you're close enough to the cage when you can smell the blood. When the elbow hits somebody's eye, it's a lot more.
Smell it. We got hit with it. The guy's face was blown up.
It's a
on
lot
that.
more action packed than you'll find in some of these boxing matches, especially amateur boxing matches. At best, when they got headgear on and stuff of that nature, that's not really exciting to me. I'm more of a pro person in a pro atmosphere. That's why you won't catch me on a lot of these amateur things unless I have interest, like Jim Frazier. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, so it was a good night. We're
It was
running
a
out of
good
time.
night. We'll see
What
you in
do-
Cleveland for the next Gladiators of the Cage. Hopefully, we get the videotape up there.
Yeah, we actually got about 2 minutes to go. So
2 minutes.
since you talked about amateur boxing and pro boxing, Smoking Jim, this is your segue. What's happening Friday and Saturday night?
Wow, Friday and Saturday night, the Canadian national team is coming here to fight Team USA, and Al Levine, the Talking Machine, and myself will be there giving blow by blow, and we'll have a female co-host that you have to come out and see.
Hey, is this the same team that beat the Irish team?
Yes, it'll be similar.
Similar?
Well, this is Jimmy Savetic.
Yeah.
He set all this up. It's a 2-day event. Royal Place, that near 88 and 51. Try to make it on 88. What's the time? I didn't get any details.
7:30.
I might show
7:30.
up just to.
And we'll see. We're going to be wrapping this thing up. It sounds like a great night there. The Canadians are coming for 2 days.
Hey,
So
What's that all
maybe
about?
B. So we'll see what happens. And hey, thanks for watching our show. I know we covered a lot of stuff that maybe is not your normal sports, but we don't really mind. Thanks for the great feedback we're getting. You know, you can call in 412-831-3304.
Next week.
Definitely, and I want to shout out to a new friend of mine, Scott Umberger. I met him. He has a great facility out there, and we'll talk more. We may see him in an upcoming show. So everybody have a great night. Let's go Bucks. Hopefully they're winning right now, and we'll see you next week. Take care.